Hello and welcome to 100 Yards of Football Sports Talk. I'm your host, Coach Kevin Bull Jones. During the Christmas holidays, enjoying the holidays, and sports fans, I got some great guests. We're going to sit and talk about the Deion Sanders effect. I wanted the smoke to clear a little bit, especially after the game, and everybody's feelings and thoughts on what he's done in a short amount of time to kind of subside. But I want to bring in some heavy hitters today, some great friends of mine, and we're going to talk about different facets of where this recruiting, where this coaching, and from what Deion Sanders has done, as well as the way it's affect other hiring in college football today. And with me today, I got Aaron Parks from Enough Said Podcast Sports. All right, my man, and get a chance to see the crawler down the bottom, get a chance to check out his awesome shows he has about everything going on from college football, NFL, you name it, the man with the plan. Up until to my left is Helen Williams, my confidant mentor and from a coach podcast. And don't let the smooth taste fool you. She is thorough and detailed, and I love it. I sometimes think she's been in the military, but believe it or not, she's been former athletic director in administration on the Division I program. So I'm gonna let her talk about that in a minute. And then down at the bottom in the corner, my brother from another mother, Coach Craig Chatman, a former colleague of mine, coaching in the Metro Atlanta area, but more importantly at Pike County High School now, and a wealth of knowledge of just coaching and dealing with high school kids. So sports fans, if you got a chance, just sit down for a minute. You're riding in the car, whatever the case may be. Listen to what we're going to talk about for a minute, because I want to go up under the skin from different levels of the Deion Sanders impact. But before I do that, I want everybody to make sure that you share, subscribe, like 100 Yards of Football, and then also get a chance to look at Aaron as well as Helen's podcast. They have some fascinating stuff that they're doing, so informational that they are my motivating factor. You know, I'm getting strong. You know,
Appreciate that, Coach.
I'm feeling swole now. You know, without further ado, I want to go ahead and let's real quickly just introduce yourselves. I said it, but I want you to just introduce yourselves real quickly. Aaron, we'll start with you.
Yes, Aaron Parks, Enough Said Sports. You can check me out on YouTube. Go on YouTube, type in the search bar, Enough Said Sports, comes right up. What we specialize in is making money to watch these games. We do sports betting in the NFL, college football, and NBA. And we don't do fandom, we do business. We don't make friends, we make money.
Awesome. Okay, I'm passing it off to Helen. Go ahead, Helen.
I don't have a good tagline to follow that. Helen Williams, my podcast is called The Coach for the Coach, and we educate coaches on things that will positively impact their career and professional development. I'm a former head coach and also done some administration at several different levels, D1, 2, and 3, and also do television commentator for basketball.
Awesome. And Coach Chatman, go ahead. And I know I surprised you, but hey, I know you're always ready, because when you stay ready, you don't have to get ready.
Amen. Craig Chatman, Pike County High School, full-time teacher, coach football, basketball, and baseball. Somehow ended up being the head basketball coach, so that should be a great benefit to everybody in our region. Like Bull says, my tagline I got from Bull, I may not be right, but I know I'm not wrong. So here we go.
Like that.
Hey, sports fans, without further ado, so let's go ahead and jump into this thing. We just finished having this unbelievable game. Matter of fact, I was out of town. Me and wifey just hanging out in another place, but the Celebration Bowl just happened. But let's talk about the Deion Sanders effect, because folks started coming in on Wednesday of last week, getting ready for that whole scene. And since the Super Bowl, that was the most active. And I hate to say that, because I know the Falcons play down there, but we're not talking about the Falcons. But as far as electricity for a city, and of course, Deion Sanders being a former Atlanta Falcon, this was his home where he played, got drafted to play here. But the magnitude of what he brought to Atlanta in a few days. I want to start with you first, Aaron. Then I want to go to you, Helen. Then I want to come down and hand it off to you at the end. But give me your quick thoughts on that, the three of you. You first, Aaron.
Yeah, it was really exciting, man. I'm glad to see Deion doing his thing. I'm a huge Deion fan in general. Loved him when he played. Really, really pulling for him really hard on the coaching aspect of things. And I'm really hoping that he can definitely get this program where it needs to be at. I'm going to be a little critical here in a little bit of Deion, but I do love him. And I love what he brings to the city. I love the excitement. I think it's tremendous for college football and for Jackson State.
Well, I want you to keep it real. That's why I brought the three of y'all on, because I know Helen gonna keep it. So
I'm gonna get real with you in a minute here.
Yeah, in a minute. Yeah, you can start off nice. Okay, Helen, you go ahead.
Yeah, well, I think just in terms of visibility, anything that Deion touches is going to be, out there. And so for HBCUs, I think his mission to give them more visibility is obviously had a positive impact on HBCUs.
Absolutely. Chatman, Craig, what's your thoughts?
Being a Falcons fan, when Deion came in, he came in with a splash in Atlanta. Same thing in San Francisco and Dallas, and it's no different now. I mean, he is one of the most well-known football players, and then he was on TV, on all the NFL shows. So, it's not like, we're talking about somebody that was an unknown. So he's going to lend credibility wherever he goes. All right. Now, the fact is that, when he can come in and recruit and you get a player as highly regarded as he got last week, it shows that he's changing the game already. And, with that being said, is it really him changing the game, or is it kids going where they want to be coached because they feel like he can give them knowledge of the league? All right. And, from my perspective, I wouldn't be surprised to see this happen a lot more, not just at Jackson State, but around, the country where you see this becoming a more prevalent thing.
Yes. Well said. And let me add, came in as SWAC champions. And of course, they played in the Celebration Bowl against the MEAC champion. And it was legendary Coach Buddy Pugh, who and I got a lot of South Carolina State Bulldog folks watching this show because they let me know after the game who was the real big dog on the block. And Coach Buddy Pugh did an excellent job of game planning the second half and really brought it down to what it is, just coaching football for about 2.5, 3 hours. And he prevailed and really hit Jackson State in the mouth in a way that Jackson State had not been hit all season. So now, with that being said, okay, let's get the gloves off. Let's start with you, Helen. I want to talk about from an administrative point of view, when athletic directors and administrators sit in those rooms. And by the way, I want to give you credit for the line that you use that I always use now. And I'm just telling you, I wanted you on the show so I could say it. But the drawer on the right hand side, the coaches. I got that, sports fans. I got that from Helen. Just my sister, big sister. I got it from her. But that right hand drawer, when you start looking at coaches, okay, how does this affect what Deion has done, Helen, as far as your experience with administration and looking at coaches?
Well, I think what it does is going to make a lot more ADs think out of the box, in terms of who they hire. There's, they do have a list of, 6 to 10 people in that right-hand drawer, but they come from their sphere. So apparently somebody in the athletic director sphere at Jackson State mentioned Deion, and that's how he, got on his radar. So it's going to, I don't know right away if it's going to change, but it's going to make some ADs think a little bit out of the box. Tennessee State's a perfect example. Yeah. They hired Eddie George after Deion had been there for a year. So there are a lot of things to consider. It's not just the head coach that you hire. It's the staff that they hire as well. That is just as important, which I give Deion credit for. He hired some coaches that have some street cred in terms of the NFL, but also obviously no football. So that's important. And then you think of the ancillary effects in terms of season ticket sales. You're thinking about revenue from season ticket sales. You're thinking about revenue if you want new facilities built. People are going to be more apt, I know, at Jackson State to go, hey, here's X amount of dollars, because I know, Deion's proven what he can do. So it's not just the hire of the coach, but it is going to, I think, maybe force people to think a little bit out of the box more.
Wow. Okay, so now with that being said, Aaron, I want to pass it to you, because now I want you to take the gloves off a little bit and let's talk about we heard it from the administrative side, and Helen saying about how they would look at this hire. Now, Aaron, I want to pass it to you about just what, now let's talk about the nuts and bolts with you and Craig about what really happened and how that, the other parts of it. So bring that to me.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Coach, and Helen. Thank you for that. And I'm gonna give you a little bit of background here from a perspective of Deion being hired. I really wanted him to get that Florida State job, right? And I thought that he deserved an opportunity to get that job even. But I stand corrected. And the reason why I say that is this: from a perspective of a dad now, I got a young man that plays football at a pretty high level. He's 12 years old and is probably going to be a D1 athlete. I certainly would not even entertain having Deion, having him go to Jackson State per se. And the reason why I say that is because Deion, while he was a tremendous football player, as we all well know, I think he's one of the top 5 greatest of all time, period. But Deion has some gifts and some things that he could do that others just can't do. Okay, he could run a certain way, obviously with that speed, that quickness, and then he had the hard work alongside that combined to make him what he was and make him great. I don't necessarily think that that's something that can be taught. It's something that could be coached into young men in the football world going forward. So that's the reason number one. Reason number two is I was really, really disappointed this Saturday. And this is no shade towards South Carolina State. I'm in South Carolina, so I know about that program. I know about that coaching staff. I know how proud they are, and I understand what they're about. But they had no business being in this game with Jackson State. Jackson State has a slew of D1 transfers from large universities, big-time players, 3- and 4-star recruits even. There's no way they should have lost this football game, and I was really, really disappointed that they lost. And the other part that I'm going to be really critical with Deion about is his son should not be playing quarterback, okay? We got to keep it real. This is where we're going to keep it real at. This young man does not have the football acumen. He doesn't have the footwork. He doesn't have the mechanics. He should not be playing quarterback. And Deion Sanders owes it to his team and all those young men that he's bringing into that program to put the best players on the field. And he needs to take his son and move his position to something else, or either have him learn behind someone until he's ready for that, because he's not ready. And they lost that football game as a result of him not being ready to play. So that's just my 2 cents about it. And I think, Travis Hunter, going to this program, Deion has got to make better decisions when it comes to players on the field. And you can't play your son just because he's your son. You got to put these guys in position to win, because if they're not on a winning program, they're not going to the NFL. I don't care if Deion Sanders is coaching them. They need to win, and they need to win convincingly. That's my 2 cents on it.
Ooh-wee. I didn't have to pull the whistle out for coach talk, because you already went 0 to 10. Oh my goodness. Well, I tell you what, I am not surprised by you saying that. That's why I wanted you on the show. But I just wanted to bring a different levels of this effect of what he's brought to the table. Now, with that being said, we're gonna hand that ball off in that single wing T, Craig Chatman, to you, Coach Chatman, and I want you to if you can take your experience and knowledge of what Aaron took as far as his thoughts on it, and give me your thoughts on him as Coach Primetime, the coach, and recruiting.
Well, I didn't see Jackson State play enough this year. I think I saw him play last Saturday, of course, and then maybe one more time. So I wouldn't talk about anybody that plays, because you know how it is. People see us play one time, they're like, you need to play this person there. But that for me, I can understand that point of view, and especially how it looks from the outside in. Completely. But from the aspect of Coach Prime as a coach and as a recruiter, the biggest question is that how long will he be at Jackson State? Because if he's there for a long time and he keeps his coaching staff intact, or if they has to replace someone, he can replace them with other viable options and build the coaching staff and keep it intact, then he has a chance to make a mark on the national recruiting phase or national recruiting scene that hasn't been seen in the HBCUs. Now, that's what I think. As far as everything else, I know he hit the portal heavily last year. And for being a high school coach, I don't know how I feel about the portal. Being a college football fan, if you can go out and snag someone, say, Alabama took someone from Tennessee to play linebacker for them this year. Right. All right. And they just got a commitment from one of the best athletes in the nation yesterday from Georgia Tech. So the portal, it giveth and it taketh away. It seems like it gives opportunities to guys who have already been in college, and perhaps takes away opportunities from high school players. But with that being said, I don't see how if Deion remains a constant, how he can't walk into someone's house and sit down and talk with their parents, and there be a chance for them to say, no, I don't want you to go there. Now, I understand the fact about him being a special player and all of that and all of those attributes. But, if you surround yourself with good coaches and he trusts those coaches, then that's the biggest thing. If he'll allow his DB coach to coach DBs and then come in and say, maybe give a hint here or there, then that's one thing. If he's trying to coach everything, you know how that works.
Yes, I definitely know how that works. And well said for all three of you, because here's my spiel. I think that Deion, his light has always shined bright, and we all know that. All four of us can say that. He's always had his shining light. But I think some of the criticism that he gets, listen, at the end of the day, Buddy Pugh is a very good coach, legendary coach. And they got out coached, and I think it was special that Deion could admit that, listen, we got beat in all phases of the game. So the humility of knowing that you got your butts kicked on national television and you've been ranting and raving about wanting to be on national TV, and the humiliating part of it, everything is fine, like Mike Tyson says, until you get hit. And then you get hit and everybody just goes, uh-oh, what was that? Was that a real hit? So, Aaron, I thought about you after that game, but I also thought about, Helen, what are the administrators across the country who are all of a sudden now trying to put Deion Sanders' name in that envelope in that right corner of the desk? What are they thinking? Because to see him lose like that really tells what kind of person he is. See, I'm all into the humbleness of what his care about, because it wasn't about the money. His feelings were hurt because he tried to get the FSU job and they told him he wasn't qualified. You did a great job of running back kickoffs, interceptions, going in the Hall of Fame, being the greatest ever, a great performer and entertainer. But when it's time to lead young men, we don't want you for that. When they said that in their own words, whether it was administration or whoever, the powers that be, and Helen, you can help me on that, because somebody's got to make the decision. He was shunned, and he went to Alabama to go get a degree. He went to go get a degree because they told him you don't even have a degree. So I know I went to Alabama. He went to, not the University of Alabama, but he went into a college and university and finished up and got his degree. So the onus is on him to be a better coach. And I think there's a lot of shots at him because he is prime, and he is flamboyant. And everybody wants, even the other HBCU coaches were jealous until he turned around and said, why can't everybody have their names on their jersey? Which is, he said he'd even pay for it. I mean, the humility and the realness, I guess, of wanting to be not just a coach. I just because Craig, you and I know a lot of coaches that coach because they just want to get the wins. They don't care about kids. So I'm concerned about those aspects of it. That's my spill on it. But Helen, talk about how it transfers over what the administration looks at in those down moments, such as now.
Well, if you ask the Jackson State AD, I'm sure he'd say that they had a successful season, right? Because you have to look at all of the other, like I said, the ancillary parts of it. I'm sure their season ticket renewals are going to be through the roof. You've got sponsors who are all of a sudden going to want to be part of of Jackson State and in general HBCUs. I mean, there's a lot since all of the unrest a couple of years ago with George Floyd, where there are a lot of companies who are, putting money into that. And so if you're an AD that's looking at Jackson State, you're looking at all those different areas. You won the win-loss column, right? They only
Right.
lost how many games? That was the only game they
Two,
lost. Two
two,
games, right?
two.
11-2.
So you had a good season, and you got great positive attention for your program. Any coach wants that. The coaches that said no to him are going to at least think a little bit about it. Again, the Power Five schools are going to try to replicate that somehow. So he's gonna get opportunities. The question for him is, are you all in with this? And the thing that people don't understand about coaches is this is really just his first full year. And so everybody's a better coach than you who's not at practice every day, who doesn't see what goes on every day, who don't understand what goes into the decisions that you make every day. So it's easy to say play this person or play that person, but you're not really sure because you're not privy to what goes on every single day there. But the other piece is it's hard to be a head coach, and you don't know what you don't know until you get in that seat. And so I do think that he was humbled a bit, and I don't think that was necessarily a bad thing. If he's self-aware enough, he'll go back and he'll look at how he handled things with his staff. He'll look at his staff. He'll look at how he prepared his kids. His quote was, we thought it was going to be handed. I'm generalizing now. We thought it was going to be handed to us, and we thought it was going to be easy, right? So if I'm a head coach, I'm looking, what was my part in that process? If that was the case of not preparing them, correctly. So it's not just one thing, but from an administrative point, I would say that people are going to look at that and go, "Wow, that was successful." How, if I'm an HBCU, especially, how can I replicate that? And then on top of it, you get the recruit that he got last week. Now you're sort of shaking up the natural, quote unquote, natural order of things. And so someone's going to be able to say, well, listen, you can still have X, Y, and Z. You can still get to the pros. And I will disagree a little bit with the former comment about you have to win to get to the pros. If you're good, they'll find you. And if Deion is your coach, they're coming to watch you. So it's up to you to produce. But it's not just the one thing. It's several things that the coach and the administrators have to look at.
Wow, Aaron. I want to spill back to you because I one point you made, Aaron, that there was some. He's going to have to make some changes because here's where the feel good with your coaches that you feel comfortable with. Where do you make some changes because they got exposed on some things in that game, and I've never really thought about it, Helen, that this is truly his real first year of being a head football coach. I never thought about that. I was kind of like Aaron a little bit, just thinking, man, your son is here, your son is there. And yeah, they're good players, but that's a great point. I never thought about, because you don't know until you know. And boy, when you know, you can be playing in front of 200 people, or you can be playing in front of 20,000, or you can be playing in front of 60,000 or 2 million homes. So, Aaron, give me your thoughts on what Helen was just saying. I never thought about that.
So first, I'll respond to Coach Chatman. I've watched every single game of Jackson State this year, so I'm really, really familiar. I've studied them extensively because I was in particularly curious to see what type of schemes they would run and things of that nature. So I'm really familiar with the team. And the other side that I will respond to Coach Williams and say this. The reason I'm so critical, guys, it's not because it's his first year. It's not because, obviously there's an adjustment period. I'll put it to you this way. If you're driving a Ferrari and somebody's driving a stock Ford Mustang, they're not supposed to beat you. And what I'm saying is this. The reality is that maybe there isn't a better quarterback on the staff, maybe on the team. Maybe there isn't. But what I'm saying is you're Deion freaking Sanders. You got a transfer portal of all the other positions. Go get a better quarterback. That's what I'm saying. You owe it to your team. You can't put your son out there at quarter. You can't tell me that there's not a better quarterback that will come play for Deion. I don't believe that. I'm just 100% against that. And I also feel that, yes, there's more pressure for Deion to win at this level because, guys, realize something. Everybody else on the FCS level, they don't have a team like this. He's got better players on this. His starting 22 is as good as some D1 teams as far as from a rating perspective. So I'm not going to give him a whole lot of margin for error when you're playing South Carolina State. No disrespect to South Carolina State and no disrespect to anybody else that played, but they don't have Coach Prime. They don't have the ability to go get those other kids. And what I'm saying to you is this. My concern is that the Travis Hunters of the world that are going into this program, if Coach Prime doesn't do a better job making the hard decisions like getting a better quarterback out there or coaching his son up to par, either way you want to put it, then it's a waste. Because the reality of it is they need to be undefeated with the team that they have. Those guys
but now his son was the quarterback for 11 wins.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, Aaron? So how do you take the 11 wins? I mean, was he fine then, or was he fine until he lost? Because he had one bad game, and the only difference is we all got to see it.
Right, we all got to see it. No, his son.
I thought the opposite. I thought, me being a defensive guy, and how me and you talk about it, and Craig, we coached together. I thought that they did an excellent job of disrupting him in so many ways. They had a great defensive scheme. They did a great job. Aaron, I thought that the coaches, because I did see enough Jackson State games, and I did see his son throw some. I was down at Alabama when he worked out for Nick Saban. I watched him work out. I watched him throw the 30-yard outs in a tight window past the hash mark between the numbers and the sidelines. So I saw some skill set, but I did see him get rattled early in the game, and I saw him become human-like. But the other 11 games, the other 12 doggone games, he did enough for them to only lose to one team, and that was an FBS school that was in the top 25, which was Louisiana. So he did a good job, but he faced some better coaching. And I agree with you.
Let me just say this: here's the issue I have, and it's okay to criticize a coach. I have no problem with that, but because of the way some of these programs have done really well right away, we have this microwave mentality about you have all these players, you should win. There still has to be some time taken to coach these players and to develop chemistry and to develop them as players. So even if they come from, even if it's full of D1 transfers, that's still not necessarily a quote unquote team. It takes time to develop a team and some consistency and chemistry and make sure that everybody knows their roles. And 12 games is not really enough to do that all the time. But we expect that because we see, coaches that go in and they do that. And that's few and far between where coaches go and they just immediately go undefeated. And so I want to give Deion some grace with that, not to say that he can't be a better coach and I'm sure there's some better things that he could do, and maybe he does need to make a quarterback change, and that's on him. But I want to give him some grace in terms of, yeah, you got all these players, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be, right away, the number one team in the country. I think being 11-2 or whatever it was, again, would be considered a successful season. And he might have to make some changes, and it's on him as a coach to really look at every aspect of his organization to see what those changes need to be.
Wow.
I wanted to speak to one thing before you get off of that is this.
And we'll go to Craig after you finish.
Yeah, really quick. They what they did is they loaded the box and they said, Mr. Sanders, QB, take your right arm and beat us. And he couldn't do it. That's what it came down to. They took away the run game. They loaded the box and they just made him make those throws. And those throws you're talking about, the 30-yard outs, and he didn't make them. He just didn't hit them. I mean, he missed them over and over again. And that was the problem with this. And and Coach Williams, I hear what you're saying. I'm with you. I hear what you're saying. I 100% agree with you. The problem that I have is the level that we're on. If this was a Power 5 school situation, I would feel differently because I believe that those kids are more on par with each other. I think that he's got a significant advantage, and maybe that's a misperception on my part, but I think his advantage is so significant that it shouldn't take a year or two or anything. He should be able to plug and play. That's my thoughts.
Wow. Okay, Craig, your thoughts on this topic?
Well, I agree with some of both of the previous comments. I'll say this, and this is how I'll leave it. And you know this from experience from us being together. The worst thing that can happen to you is to get to that point where you're playing for something important and to lose the last game.
Yeah.
And so I would guess that in my mind and the way I think that everything would be on the table starting right now. Once he's got more recruiting to do through January to the late signing period, but I would venture to guess that during that time during the week that they are going through and looking at every aspect. And they talked about loading the box. I'm sure he's looking at what routes did we run, what scheme did we have, everything from handling to protecting breakdowns to special teams to being able to be more. I heard them say they played all-man coverage, and that reminded me of some other guy that I know.
Yeah, they play zero. Yeah.
And I was wondering if maybe in this working through their spring, if they'll try to make some adjustments in there and mix it up. Because one thing I'll say is that we ran the same defense at Lovejoy from 2010 through 2011, all the way to the semifinals in 2012. And we went in at halftime in the semifinals in 2012 and drew up a defense on the board and stopped a team dead cold in their tracks in the second half. And we hadn't called anything other than maybe adjusting a defensive tackle, but we'd run the same coverage for 3 straight years. And then we changed the coverage at halftime and it threw them off. And our guys didn't miss a beat. So I'm guessing that everything is on the table. And when I say that, I'm Bull, this. I've sat in a room with a guy and we worked on protections and we started at, 10:30 at night and we had to be up at 5:30 in the morning for early morning run. And we got finished fixing our protections at 5 o'clock in the morning. So we just skipped a whole night of sleep so we could make sure that was the most important thing. And one thing I took away from it was, yes, the quarterback did not play well. And I'll say it about any quarterback. I watched a guy on Sunday night that didn't play well either. That guy's considered the greatest of all time by most people, but he didn't play well because he was getting racked. Yeah. And if you can't set your feet and if you feel like it's coming from everywhere and you're trying to get the ball out of your hands, all of those things you did in that showcase throwing where nobody's coming in there and hitting you, that goes right on out the window. Footwork goes out the window. Reads go out the window. Get the ball out of my hand is the number one priority. And you saw it. He threw that inside dig route, and yeah, it hit the receiver in the hands. But he's thinking I got to get the ball out of my hands right now because they're coming from everywhere. So I would think that if Deion is the football man that I think he is, then I think that everything will be on the table. And we'll learn a lot about it when next season starts, because we'll see the growth that they've made in the program, and we'll see what they have done to make additions, or subtraction. Maybe they were trying to do too much, and it was too much, for that particular time. Because, I made a statement to somebody today, things that used to take 4 or 5 years to fix in the 80s and the 90s can be fixed in one offseason now, because you have the ability to do things differently. So, we shall see. But I think that it's going to be one of those things where they break down every, inch of the program, and they start to take a hard look at it, because, like you said, Deion's a public figure. Everybody knows him. Deion doesn't like to be embarrassed, no matter how much humility he showed on TV and in the interviews afterwards. He didn't like that, not one bit. And you can bet he wants to prove everybody wrong.
Yep.
Well, it's funny. You got a heck of a memory, Chad. I remember that, changing in the semifinals, and just and the coach called timeout, if I'm not mistaken, when I went man free, and he still reminds me to this day. He said, "Bull Jones, you went man free on me. I watched 2 years of film, and I just couldn't believe you did that." You got a heck of a memory. I didn't remember, but yeah, that happens. And to the defense of everything that the three of you all have said, I see, that whole game, I thought that really South Carolina State won the game on the offensive side of the ball.
They did.
Had the man beaters. And Craig, I thought about you, because when you got Kevin Mathis, Dennis Thurman, and Primetime, they've gone man coverage all season and been successful. They were one of the top defenses in collegiate football, FCS, with all of that they did. And, they didn't make an adjustment. And the guys on the offense side of the ball for South Carolina State said, we're going to go with some man beaters to irritate you. And it was amazing that, just like you said, Aaron, yes, you're right. They do have the athletes, but we all know, especially on the offense side of the ball, it takes all that. By the time that gels, you're 5 games into a season when some of that gels, some of it individual talent takes over. But you're right, and I never thought about that as well, Aaron. The fact that they got so many people from so many places, and Helen, you mentioned that all these transfers, all these kids got to gel together. At the end of the day, here's my thing. I wish that, if Prime is going to be held to those standards, and everybody has an opinion, I want everybody to be held to those standards.
That's right.
Deion Sanders, because Deion Sanders is obviously doing this for the love of it, because he's got enough money to live the rest of his life.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
Money. But the part that intrigues me, that I like the most, and Craig, you know how I am, I'm just touching lives, because my mentors, Al Hughes, Lovejoy High School, Chris Beal, Nick Davis, those people, touching lives of young men is more than the wins and losses. The wins and losses do help, but just like you said, Aaron, on that level, the wins and losses mean everything. And just like you said, Helen, now the AD's looking like, man, we got all this new stuff going on here. The money is in the bank. Prime has done that. So I would hope that's why I wanted you all, the three of you, to come on and give different levels of your thoughts on it, because it is intriguing when the folks that watch this show they have their thought process, but maybe we give them one of those aha moments where they say, you know what, I didn't think about that. Because when he got the number 1 recruit in the nation, he caught a lot of backlash. And for me as a coach, I'm just talking as a coach, that part that we have to wear and deal with every day, we got to wear it, which means we got to bring it home to our families. And Deion is in a situation where he got 2 sons playing for him. So they got to wear it. So I like to go beneath all of that and the joy of having this platform, because I want to expose all that, so people can leave this show and say, you know what, never thought about it like that. Some people think about Deion Sanders, all they think about is the guy that got off the plane in Atlanta, Jerry Curl, and all the gold. They never once want to consider him being a coach, and that was the whole problem he had when people addressing him, and I understood it. And this you talking about a guy that don't even curse, don't drink, don't curse, and that is Deion Sanders. He doesn't do it. So he was upset that he couldn't get that level of respect. And then his old alma mater told him no. So guess what he did? He went and got #1 player from his alma mater.
Yep, sure did.
And so I hope that in this dialogue that people that are watching the show get a chance to say, okay, let me think about it like that. Because there are a lot of kids that won't go to college and play football. And Craig, that's why, from the high school level, it hurts. Because, where Helen, we talk about, and for all you do, Helen, with the coach for a coach to help coaches try to get somewhere in their professional climb, you got kids that can't go to college and play football because of the portal. So now we're getting somewhere on one end, but we're going back down on the other end. Because Aaron, your son should have a chance to look at some colleges. He might be one of the blessed ones to get a chance to look at a school and somebody say, hey, listen, I really like you, son. We're going to offer you a scholarship. I got 5 kids right now that can't get anything.
Man, it's tough.
And they were all region,
tough.
and they can't get anything.
Yeah.
And so it's sad that the darts get thrown to me, just to me. It's sad that Deion gets those darts thrown because I need Urban Meyer to get the darts thrown too.
Oh yeah, man.
And that's what we were going next. We were going to finish it up with this. I want you all thoughts on this. And Craig, I'm gonna start with you, then followed by you, Helen, and then I'm gonna close it. I'm gonna close it with you, Aaron. I want to get you all's thoughts on the Urban Meyer firing and what your thoughts were on.
Urban Meyer was a failed experiment from the day he was hired. And if they looked at, past examples, I'm a history guy. I teach history. There's this whole thing about if you don't understand history, you're failed to repeat it. You're doomed to repeat it. You got to look at all the guys that have gone from college that were successful and went to the pros, all right, and weren't successful. And there's a laundry list that is way longer of the guys that are unsuccessful than those that are successful. But, I mean, just when they hired him, and then he had a very interesting makeup of his staff. He chose to hire a strength coach that he probably shouldn't have touched with a 10-foot pole. I didn't think that, I being around, high school football for a long time and seeing, his transformation from Utah to Florida to Ohio State, I wasn't really sure, how that would play. Now, I know that the NFL has gone to more college, type of offensive combinations and pass routes and schemes. But from all of that, he's used to being able to tell people what to do because he's the guy standing on the sideline that makes the most money. And now he's not the guy standing on the sideline making the most money. And that kind of, how you handle your players in the NFL has got to be a complete 180 from how you handle your players in college, I would think. And that's just me. I would think that it's different, and perhaps he didn't handle it really, really well. And, I think as much as them firing him, I think he was trying to get out of it earlier on by some of the things that he did. So that's just me. I think he knew that maybe he stepped in something he couldn't get out of, and the best way to get out of it was to do something off the field. So,
great minds think alike, Chad.
Perhaps I am wrong on this, but I don't think so.
Well, yeah, it's amazing you thought of that. And I know that you have a daddy-daughter date, so I know you got to leave us immediately because you got to stay on schedule because I need your wife. Very happy with you. Happy life, happy wife. Don't get in the doghouse. It's the Christmas break.
Thank you. Have a wonderful Christmas. Have a happy holiday, happy New Year, Merry Christmas. Thank you for having me, Bull. Nice to meet you guys.
We'll see you later. Helen, your thoughts on that same thought process with Urban Meyer from his administrative, your background dealing with coaches.
Two thoughts came to mind when you talk about Urban Meyer. One is anytime a coach makes it all about them, they're never going to succeed. And I think this was a prime case of that, where I'm going to do what I want to do because I've always done what I've always done. It's worked, and you're not going to be able to tell me anything. And there was no, you know, self-awareness in terms of I'm going to a different level. So there might be some things that I need to learn. There might be, they do things different in the NFL, and I really need to, lean on some people who've been there, learn what needs to be done. X's and O's, I'm sure, aren't that different, but the other pieces of it are way different in terms of what Coach Craig was talking about as well. And then from a hiring standpoint, the phrase that sticks in my mind is when people show you who they are, believe them. Ooh. So every place that he's been, there's been some controversy, and there were enough red flags, I think, there that should have been paid attention to that weren't. And so then that also goes back to the ego of the person that's making the hire. In terms of that, you wanted to make this big splash, but did you really vet him enough? Ooh. Did you really talk to the right people? Did you really dive into what should have been very obvious red flags before you decided to make that hire? Because it wasn't really that long before something controversial came up, which was hiring the strength coach. Like that would have been a no-brainer. Like, this guy's, you shouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole, yet I'm going to do what I want to do because I'm the boss. Like, wow. It didn't occur to you that the majority of your players were of color. So that means he didn't vet that guy either, So those are the two things that really come to my mind. Whenever you make it about yourself, you're never going to succeed because your players aren't going to buy into what, what you're bringing. And then just the red flags, he should have been vetted better by the owner of the team.
Wow. Aaron, your thoughts. And I know you got to get out of here too for a meeting. Your thoughts.
Yeah, man. And well said, Coach Williams there. That's well said. The biggest thing to me, and I've been inside football locker rooms at the highest level, and I understand how those guys think. I understand how those guys operate. Those are grown men. There's a big difference. And I think Coach Meyer was under the impression that you could just talk to these grown men any kind of way. It's just not going to ever work because those guys, they're not going to put up with it. They're going to slap you in the mouth. You just can't do it. And I think that was a big part of it. And to piggyback off of what Coach Williams said, it's exactly right. They didn't vet the guy. They just flat out didn't vet the guy. There's always been some controversy with this guy, all the way back to the University of Florida and how he left that program and some of the things that went on there. And then, the Aaron Hernandezes of the world and things of that nature that he allowed to go on underneath his watch, some of the things that went on there. And then also it's some of the things that went on at Ohio State. Yeah. And if a regular Joe like me can find the information, then why can't a billionaire like Mr. Khan find the information? It's just a black eye, and it just speaks to where the Jacksonville Jaguars are as an organization. And it's unfortunate, that he's not held to the same standard. Like you said, Coach, you said it. He's not held to the same standard as the Deion Sanders is. Everybody looking at Deion Sanders. Deion hadn't done anything wrong. He don't even curse. He loses one game, and the sky is falling, right? But the Urban Meyers of the world, he'll have a job by the end of next week if he wants one. So that's the part where it gets a bit frustrating. And I also want to say this just real quick, back to Deion. I am pulling for Deion Sanders. I want him to win. I want him to win very badly. I would love to see Deion go all the way to the NFL level and be a head coach at NFL level because I believe he has a lot to give. I just hope that he's able to take what he has, learn from it, and grow.
Thank you so much. That's well said. Sports fans, I hope that you all enjoyed listening. Helen Williams, a Coach for a Coach podcast. So much wonderful information. You high school, college coaches out there, please look at her. Watch the stuff that she does. I got a chance to watch her at the coaching convention a couple years ago, and she has been my big sister ever since. My guiding light, my strength. I mean, she has been the Terminator and be just time on task of trying to push things to help coaches all walks of life. So please get a chance to check out her podcast and subscribe to it. And Aaron from Enough Said Sports, my brother, You know,
Yes, sir.
we still gonna hook up later, you know, because we got to get together and talk. I miss y'all because I was in New Orleans. I was away from you, man, and we had fun away from the kids. We told
Yeah, that's good.
we
That's
told
so
them
good.
we ended up in New Orleans, and but great to have you on the show, sports fan.
Thank you.
You can watch him as well. Enough said sports. This man knows how to pick them, and his insight is phenomenal. And I thank you all for taking time out to come spend some time with me. I hope that sports fans, you all got a chance to watch this. We like to peel the skin off. So I wanted to leave that with you all before you folks get in for the holidays. Enjoy, but we'll be back next week. I got some other hot stuff coming up. I'm not going to talk about it yet, but it's coming down the pipeline. But anyway, thank you, Jeremiah Long. Thank you so much, my producer, the man behind the scenes who's pressing the buttons and making it happen. Thank you so much. And I thank you all for being with me today.
My pleasure.
Hey, you're welcome. You're welcome. I'm definitely going to subscribe to you, Coach Williams. I'm going to check you out.
Ditto.
Yes, definitely.
Well, thank you so much. If you enjoyed it, like I said, like, share, subscribe to 100 Yards of Football Sports Talk. Thank you so much from 100 Yards of Football Sports Talk. We'll see you later.
Happy holidays.